seemed like you had a really specific story or point that you were trying to make, but I don't know if we all understood that point. Like, it was what it was, and I really appreciated it, you know, like, it was awesome, but I feel like there's something that we're missing, and I don't know if you're doing that on purpose, or if you're not.
What could you describe awesome? Like, what did you enjoy?
I enjoyed that, kind of similar to what Charlie said, it started out very, almost calm in an eerie way with, like, the rain and the very vibrant colors that you chose for the statues, or whatever that was. And then all of a sudden there were explosions and you running around. Like, I did not see that coming. But I definitely enjoyed it.
Does anybody think the juxtaposition of those two things work?
Like the contrast is helpful.
Well, I think it made it more entertaining, you know, because it gave you something that you're related to, or not related to.
It was certainly surprising. It was like
Yeah,
a part one and a part two.
Yeah, it started with a
I feel like
certain
part
vibe.
two, I feel like part two wouldn't have been as impactful had it not been for part one.
What about the text?
But the text part of it.
Jenna, I see you nodding your head.
I didn't like it was too, reminding me of, like, you know, a PowerPoint presentation, and it was like, there's a little fact, and then but it wasn't carried out throughout the thing. Maybe it was continuous and there was more than just one, or was there more than one? I only caught one of them.
I think there was two.
And I don't know, I would think it would need to be throughout the entire thing, and maybe in a different way instead of this block that was just right on there.
I think that part of the issue is that it was edited in YouTube too, but there's so many other options. I know that's what you're really comfortable with, and that is kind of, you know, a venue for a lot of your work. But there might be other options in iMovie and Final Cut. So what was really working about this piece?
The humor of it. I hope it wasn't intentional.
Oh, I think it was intentional. The humorous aspect was quite intentional.
It was like those little glimpses and memories that you have throughout your life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's all of a sudden you just remember something. That's what it reminded me of. Like, those little glimpses of you maybe looking at something for longer than what a lot of other people were looking at. And, like, you just remember it. Like, going through a photo album.
I really liked the rain, the audio of the rain. I thought that was a really interesting way to start the video and kind of engage the audience in a less confrontational way.
I like that feeling of sort of the destruction of something annoying. You know, when somebody's talking too much, you just visualize like, you know, and I like that. That's sort of really fun.
Isn't that like an app on the phone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How do you feel about the use of phone apps?
I think it works.
I like it.
Yeah.
Normally I wouldn't be as accepting of it, I feel like, because it's just so easy, you know? But I feel like you manipulated it in a different way than most people would, and I appreciate that.
I liked the contrast of the very, you know, kind of silly explosions with the, you know, very calm, tranquil beginning.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of thinking, part of me really feels that the sort of breach in aesthetics really worked because it started as this sort of meta-analysis of life and death, and then it became humorous, and so it became satirical to me, and it became sort of like, you know, Buddhist monks and Zen. They talk about contemplating your own death every day and being able to laugh about it. So for me, this sort of was an exercise in that, which I appreciate. So it didn't come off as heavy-handed as it would if you had just sort of sticked with the aesthetics and the saturations of the first portion. So I thought that was successful. The cuts were a little jumpy as far as the editing goes. Anything else? What about the sort of sexy stripper girl?
I didn't understand
That was it all. I didn't understand it. It's a little confusing.
Was she celebrating that you were coming back from the dead?
You can talk now, Sharon.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of what I got from it.
Well, that was my daughter, Crystal. I was in Portland. Well, what it has to do with was, remember I mentioned that on the Day of the Dead, I was on a bus with a cracked windshield and a St. Christopher medal careening up to the graveyard, and there I got a sense of a celebration of death. And the thing that really struck me was, this went on for hours and hours, and I was taking a step, and if I would have stepped just a little bit more, I would have gone tumbling down, 100 or 200 feet, and it really woke me up about that, it can happen at any time. So what this really had meant for me is a sort of mocking celebration of death.
I think that you achieved that. For me, your daughter sort of read as, an element of life is sort of this like sex and joking around and like this nostalgic tidbit of this memory of playing around with you in the cemetery, helping you create this video.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thank you.